art is equally a tool for social change. For me, art is a weapon. It's what we use to pass across very to challenge status quo, to challenge political ills, to challenge social ills, to challenge economic ills.
Darkroom, l'émission qui met en lumière le talent underground de la musique camerounaise, à découvrir sans plus tarder.
Welcome to Darkroom, the show that puts the spotlight on underground music talent of Cameroon. Tonight, we have the pleasure of welcoming Penboy, an exceptional spoken word artist. He uses the words of his pen to heal the world. Let's G together for the artist who will light up our evening, Penboy!
Dear universe, it is tough out here. We are losing our minds in this circus called life. We've become clowns, dancing to the amusement of God and the devil. Tears are drowning away our faces, streets painted red with our blood, our sleeves drenched in filth. We are out in the darkness, chasing bags and dreams instead of sleep, walking the nights without lamps to light our path, falling in the way of humankind, unconsciously hurting people and watching others consciously hurt us. Families turn their backs on us. We lose faith in everything. Things that once kept our paces together. Religion, God, righteousness, truth. And as our despair keeps rising without a fall, we equally lose faith in gravity. What's to be done with all these fallen bridges, broken hearts and fading colors? We've learned to dress naked because no one really pays attention to us beneath these cheap fabrics. The tattoos and piercings on our bodies is how we fight rejection to feel valuable and to keep trace of our origins. How do we better our lives without every bartender memorizing our names? How do we chase these dreams without every graveyard trying to seduce us to an early sleep? How do we chase these dreams without denying our origins, the very thing that defines our existence? How do we fit into this constantly changing universe without constantly being reminded that we are born into rejection? Poor, broken homes with no strings of hopes. Dear universe, it's tough out here. We are losing our minds in this circus called life. We've become clowns, dancing to the amusement of God and the devil. Tears are drowning away our faces, streets painted red with our blood, our sleeves drenched in filth. Our bodies sinking into pools of hopelessness. Court.
Hi, my name is Talembong Boris Alemge, but I go by stage name Penboy. I'm a poet, a spoken word artist, and activist. For my French-speaking friends, since I'm in the littoral, mon nom c'est Penboy et je suis écrivain, poète et slammer.
What inspired you to pursue a career in music?
All right. My first inspiration behind me being a spoken word artist was first of all the Anglophone crisis in 2016. After the outbreak of the Anglophone crisis in 2016, I started to look for means through which I could express myself, through which I could tell the world about what was happening in our regions through art. And I found that voice in poetry and spoken word.
Can you tell us about your beginnings in the music industry?
All right. As I said earlier, I started spoken words and poetry in 2016 during the outbreak of the Anglophone crisis. And yes, the beginnings were very tough because spoken words and poetry is not a very popular genre of art in Cameroon. And it was tough. And being a student, I basically started doing art as a student in the University of Boya. And I was reading law. Unfortunately for me, I didn't fancy the life of suits and ties and huge vocabularies. So I dive into art. I started, doing a little bit of productions. I didn't have producers nor managers, so I was basically using my school fees and allowances to sponsor my artistic career. So it was a little bit tough, but I'm sure I've progressed a little bit from how I started.
What were your very first musical experience?
The very first experience that I had in as an artist was in 2019. It was in 2019. I was called by as I said, I was reading law, and I was called by the University of Boya to represent them in this certain cultural unifac cultural competition here in Douala. And this is when I discovered that okay, I had the potentials within me to do this art form. This was the first time I was traveling to the littoral, meeting a lot of other artists, competing with other slammers and spoken word artists from other universities. And that is when I saw in me that all right, this is something that I was really good at. And and that particular time, that experience was really memorable because I was greeted by the minister of higher education himself, and also actually won my first trophy in slam that particular year. So that is when those balls in me actually broke up, and I saw that okay, this is my path.
How has your musical style evolved over the years?
All right. And as I said, as a poet and spoken word artist in Cameroon, we don't have a lot of mentors apart from Lido, who I see really doing a lot of things in the field of slam, but we don't have a lot of mentors and gurus in the field. So it has been a little bit difficult. So most of the spoken word artists that you see in Cameroon now are creating from scratch. We don't have particular paths or guidelines that we're following. So when I started as a poet, it was just about basically writing and performing. Then slowly I realized that spoken word could be merged with a lot of other musical forms. Spoken word can be merged with cinema, spoken word can be merged with music. So I've evolved. So apart from just writing and performing, I do a lot of stage live performances, and I blend this with music. I blend with cinema too sometimes. Yes. So yes, that's how it has evolved. So it has evolved from just me writing and performing to blending it with other art forms.
What were the key influences on your work?
All right. As I said, my work has greatly been influenced by, first of all, the crisis in northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Because basically, I can summarize my work as this: I write to be a voice for marginalized and vulnerable groups of persons around the world. So, what has influenced my writings most of these years has been the plight of people who cannot seek justice for themselves, the plight of people who are vulnerable to speak out for themselves. So yes, so I can say marginalized and vulnerable groups of persons. These are the people who have had great influence on my work.
What have been the most memorable or meaningful moments of your career so far?
All right. Every moment in my career has been so memorable. But I don't know which one to pick out exactly. Um, Yes, but my most memorable moment has been came between the year 2022 and 2023. These are the years where I got recognition. It's different when you get recognized in your country, and it's another thing when you get recognized from different countries. My most memorable moment was when I was called in Netherlands for the Prince Claus. I applied for the Prince Claus. It's a really big fund for artists, and I applied in 2023, and I was called that I was selected for Prince Claus 2023. It was a big, it's basically unexplainable. It's an emotion that cannot be explained, yes. But that was my best moment. That's been my best moment so far.
Can you tell us about your writing and music creation process?
All right. Um, all right. My process of writing and creating are quite simple. First of all, I gain inspiration a lot from people by spending time with people, listening to their stories, hearing them share their experiences. This is what I translate into art. And secondly, my production phase is not complicated either. So most of the times, after getting these stories, after spending time with people, after watching what's happening around the world, especially politically, I get inspired to write and translate these into beautiful spoken word pieces.
Do you have any musical collaborations or future projects that you're currently working on?
Yes, in 20 last year I released an album, my first spoken word album. I've released a lot of spoken word singles, but I released a spoken word album last year, Natives of the Universe, which featured some Cameroonian artists, Young Holiday in particular, And then this year I've released an EP to Love and other things featuring a lot of other Cameroonian artists from Crispy Don Dada to Forbin Audrey to Aya Leonette. So far, I don't have any future projects, so I'm literally on a creative break.
Is there a particular message or theme you want to convey through your music?
Yeah. Um. So through my art, I want to, first of all, I want to heal the world through words. I want people to know that art is not just a tool for entertainment, but art is equally a tool for social change. You know, for me, art is a weapon. It's what we use to pass across to challenge status quo, to challenge political ills, to challenge social ills, to challenge economic ills.
What were the biggest challenges you faced as an artist and how did you overcome them?
All right, the first challenge I face as an artist is first of all the challenge that most Anglophone artists uh, are going through. Cameroon is made up of 10 regions basically, and I come from the English speaking regions of Cameroon, which are just 2 regions. So most of the time, it's very difficult for English speaking Cameroonians to integrate and make their arts embrace in the other parts of the country because of minority issues. That was the first problem, and it was more problematic because most of my projects came from the French regions. So, and I literally I know very little French, so it was very difficult for me to integrate this way. And secondly, the biggest challenge has been that spoken words, spoken word slam is not a very popular art form. So it has very little media attention, and it also has very little public attention. So it's been difficult, in terms of publicity, to push that art form. Secondly, thirdly, sponsorship. Spoken word artists, since it's not a very popular form of art, it gets very little attention, and thus it doesn't have a lot of sponsorship. So I've been able to all these challenges. So in summary, I've been able to solve them in my own way. Uh Firstly, I've made sure that my art integrate. If you listen to most of my works, I struggle to integrate, French, English sometimes, just so that I can cover. And secondly, I've also made some research on readings on how the French speaking Cameroonians do their own art. I've learned about the historical evolution of slam in Cameroon to make sure that I integrate my style with the style of French speaking Cameroonians in order to have that blend. And in terms of sponsorship, I made sure that, all right, since we don't have a lot of sponsors in Cameroon, we have a lot of other international sponsors. So most of the times I struggle to look for sponsors out of Cameroon, which gratefully I've been having some few since 2016.
What are your short and long term goals as an artist?
All right. Um, my short-term goals are just to create as much as possible, and my long-term goal is to find myself in a situation where I can influence political decisions one day in the world through art, basically.
How do you hope your music impacts your audience?
I have one slogan: healing the world through words. So basically, I want people to listen to my work and get healed from them.
What do you hope people feel when listening to your songs?
All right, arts translate a lot of different emotions, and I hope that when people listen to my work, they feel first of all empowered and they feel healed. As I said, my slogan is healing the world through words. So I hope that when people listen to my work, they receive healing.
Do you have a message you would like to share with your friends and supporters?
All right. In summary, my journey has been very tough. It has been very difficult, just as the journey of any young Cameroonian living here in Cameroon. It's not easy for all of us. So what I can just say is that find what you love and let it kill you. That's basically my favorite quote. Find what you love and let it kill you. Find what you're passionate about, hold on to it, and obviously you'll see your breakthrough. All right, so for my forward, may so rest in peace. I'm going to pick Manu Dibango. For midfielder, I'm going to pick no. Yes, for midfield, I'm going to pick Richard Bona. I don't know if he's Cameroonian, but then he's Cameroonian by blood. Yes, I'm going to pick Richard Bona. For my defenders, yes, I think I can go with Lidol and I'll go with Lidol and Loco. Then for my goalkeeper, yes, I'll go with Salatier because he has that boss vibe.
Darkroom,